Field Report Number FA 4821, Cycle 73. Subject Species, Homo sapiens. Observation. After completing a clearly defined resource exchange with predetermined cost, subjects initiate an additional, voluntary transfer of currency units to the provider. This surplus payment is neither contractually required nor consistently quantified, yet failure to perform it triggers visible social distress signals. Subjects appear to calculate the amount using opaque percentage rituals, often varying by context without explicit instruction. The behavior is justified through references to appreciation and service, though the primary transaction has already compensated labor. Mechanism suggests a socially enforced compliance system rather than a rational economic model. Further study required to determine why gratitude is expressed via arithmetic. Humans often add extra currency to a completed transaction, despite the price already being explicitly agreed upon. Upon observing multiple exchanges within human food acquisition centers, it has become evident that the stated price of goods and services does not represent the true expected transfer of resources. After the exchange is finalized, humans frequently append additional units of currency, referred to as a tip, even though no further goods are provided. This behavior appears paradoxical, as the initial agreement already fulfills the economic contract. On our home world, once a transaction is settled, both parties disengage without residual obligation, and any further transfer would indicate error or coercion. However, humans treat this secondary payment as optional, yet socially mandatory. Central Command has requested clarification on whether this constitutes a hidden pricing system or a ritualized display of gratitude. Evidence suggests both interpretations coexist, leading to widespread confusion even among the humans themselves. The amount of the gratuity is governed by vague percentage norms that vary by context, region, and social pressure. Humans do not select arbitrary amounts for this additional payment, but instead rely on fluctuating guidelines expressed as percentages of the original cost, commonly ranging between 15 and 25%. These percentages are neither universally enforced nor consistently applied, creating a system in which individuals must infer the correct amount based on subtle environmental cues. In some locations, failure to meet the expected percentage results in visible disappointment from service providers, while in others, the same amount is deemed excessive. On our planet, resource transfers follow fixed calibration protocols to eliminate ambiguity, ensuring no participant experiences uncertainty or shame. The human method, instead, appears to deliberately preserve ambiguity, possibly as a means of testing social awareness. The Council has expressed concern that this system introduces unnecessary cognitive load into otherwise simple exchanges. Humans experience anxiety and moral uncertainty when deciding whether and how much to tip. During observation, subjects exhibited measurable hesitation when presented with tipping decisions, often pausing to calculate percentages or consult digital devices. This hesitation is accompanied by internal conflict, as humans attempt to balance personal financial conservation against perceived social obligation. Some individuals overcompensate to avoid judgment, while others underpay and subsequently display signs of guilt or defensiveness. This suggests that tipping functions not merely as an economic act, but as a moral performance evaluated by both the self and others. In contrast, our species assigns no ethical weight to post-transaction adjustments, as all exchanges are finalized through transparent algorithms. Central Command finds it inefficient that humans embed ethical signaling into routine commerce, thereby transforming a simple payment into a psychologically complex event. Digital payment systems intensify tipping behavior by presenting pre-selected options that imply expected generosity. In modern human environments, payment interfaces frequently display suggested gratuity amounts, often prominently positioned and calculated in advance. These options subtly guide the human toward higher contributions, as selecting a lower or custom amount requires additional effort and may be perceived as socially deviant. The interface itself becomes an active participant in the interaction, shaping behavior through design rather than explicit instruction. On our world, Transactional interfaces are prohibited from influencing user decisions beyond factual data presentation, as such manipulation would be considered a breach of autonomy protocols. Humans, however, appear to accept and even expect this guidance, interpreting it as a helpful suggestion rather than coercion. The Council has noted that this indicates a high tolerance for behavioral nudging within human societies. Tipping expectations extend inconsistently across professions, creating uncertainty about when gratuity is required or inappropriate. Humans do not apply tipping uniformly. Instead, they maintain a fragmented system in which certain service roles, such as food servers and transport providers, are strongly associated with gratuities, while others are not. However, the boundaries are unclear and subject to change, leading to frequent confusion. For example, individuals may question whether to tip for automated services, minimal interaction tasks, or newly emerging roles introduced by technological change. This inconsistency forces humans to rely on social observation, prior experience, or guesswork to determine appropriate behavior. On our planet, compensation structures are standardized across all service roles, eliminating the need for interpretive decision-making. Central Command has concluded that the human tipping system functions less as an economic necessity and more as a culturally transmitted ritual that resists logical consolidation.